NFTs were supposed to make everyone a millionaire by Tuesday, so why does your digital monkey now have the resale value of a used napkin? Let's talk about whether NFTs are a real income stream, or just the most elaborate way humans have ever invented to lose money on art they can't even hang on a wall. Back in 2021, the market exploded, like someone poured gasoline on a bonfire of hype. People sold a single JPEG for $69 million, and suddenly your cousin was quitting his job to flip pixelated penguins. The catalyst was a perfect storm. Pandemic boredom, cheap money flooding the system, and a collective human desire to own something in a world where everything felt out of control. Think of it like the early days of domain name speculation. Everyone thought pizza.com was going to retire them, until reality showed up uninvited to the party. The blockchain gave digital ownership a real mechanism, but the market immediately ran 10 miles ahead of the actual utility, which is a pattern we've seen in every new asset class since tulips in the 1600s. By 2023, the floor had dropped out so hard that 95% of NFTs were essentially worthless by trading volume. And the headlines that once read, "Digital art is the future," quietly disappeared like a bad Tinder date. The optimism didn't just fade, it evaporated, leaving behind a graveyard of abandoned Discord servers and wallets full of assets nobody wants to buy. Psychologically, this is where it gets interesting. People who bought in at the peak didn't just lose money, they lost identity, because NFT ownership had become a personality trait. But experts like economist Nouriel Roubini called it a bubble from day one, while others like Chris Dixon of Andreessen Horowitz maintain that the underlying technology still holds transformative potential. And honestly, they're both kind of right. History has seen this movie before. Railroads, the dot-com boom, early social media. Every genuinely revolutionary technology goes through a speculative fever that burns down before the real builders emerge from the ashes. The dot-com crash wiped out pets.com, but it also cleared the runway for Amazon and Google. So the question isn't whether NFTs crashed, it's what survives the wreckage. Here's the misconception that needs addressing head on. NFTs are not inherently a scam, but the way 99% of them were marketed absolutely was. The technology-provable digital ownership on a public ledger is real and has legitimate applications in gaming, music royalties, ticketing, and creator monetization that have nothing to do with speculative JPEGs. The actual income potential in NFTs today lives in royalty structures, where creators earn a percentage every time their work resells, which is something the traditional art world never offered a struggling painter. Artists like Rack and 3LAU generated hundreds of thousands of dollars in passive royalty income, not from hype, but from building genuine audiences who kept trading their work. So the practical lesson history is screaming at us is this: if you're gonna participate, treat it like any other high-risk, high-volatility asset class size your position like it could go to zero tomorrow, because it genuinely might. Never allocate more than you'd comfortably set on fire. Use dollar cost averaging if you believe in a project long-term. And for the love of everything, do not take out a loan to buy a cartoon ape. The people who came out ahead weren't the speculators who panic bought at the peak. They were the disciplined creators and early community builders who understood the underlying value proposition and stayed process-oriented while everyone else was watching floor prices like a slot machine. Strategy beats conviction every single time in volatile markets, and NFTs are possibly the most volatile market in modern financial history. There's a beautiful irony here that deserves a moment. The technology designed to democratize art ownership and cut out gatekeepers ended up creating a new class of gatekeepers who were just richer and more anonymous. The revolution ate itself, which is honestly a very on-brand outcome for something that started with a guy selling a JPEG of his face for $69 million. At its philosophical core, the NFT saga is a masterclass in the difference between narrative value and intrinsic value. And the market's job, eventually, is always to sort one from the other, brutally and without apology. Discipline, position sizing, and consistency are the only things that actually compound over time, regardless of whether the asset is a Picasso, a Bitcoin, or a pixelated skull wearing a top hat. If you're comfortable with uncertainty, and you've done the work to understand what you're buying and why, then a small, rational position in the right NFT ecosystem isn't crazy. It's just another asymmetric bet in a world full of them. The goal isn't to be right about every cycle. It's to survive the wrong ones with enough capital left to participate when the right one arrives. And if all of this has your head spinning, and you'd rather put your money into something you can actually touch, like real estate or a home renovation that builds equity, we can help you get started, whether in real estate, investing, home contracting work, and finding lenders. So check out our links in the description below.